You've entered Tales from the Darkside. Whodunit, a true crime in the shadows, a handful of clues, and one name that doesn't want to be spoken. Here's how we play. I'll drop 3 clues. You study the evidence, then pause and lock in your suspect, A, B, or C. No rewinds, no second chances. Can you solve the crime before the end? Post your answer in the comments. It was a cold autumn evening when the quiet suburb first sensed something was wrong. The air hung heavy with an unnatural stillness, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Neighbors glanced nervously across their fences, whispering rumors that no one dared confirm. Behind the closed curtains of an otherwise ordinary house, a darkness had settled, one that no one could yet see. But all would soon know. The machine, a hulking, unforgiving wood chipper, stood silent in the driveway, its metal teeth glinting faintly under the dim porch light. To the casual eye, it was just another piece of yard equipment, a tool meant for mundane chores. But beneath its rusted exterior lay a horror concealed, a grotesque secret waiting to be uncovered. The victim was a young woman, vibrant and full of life, just days before. Her sudden disappearance sent ripples through the tight-knit community, casting a shadow over the streets where children once played without fear. Nobody could imagine what terror had unfolded behind that closed door, nor the unimaginable act the machine was about to conceal. In the dead of night, the machine roared to life. Its grinding mechanical hunger echoed through the neighborhood, a sinister soundtrack that no one could explain. The relentless churning masked the cries that might have pierced the silence if anyone had been close enough to hear. But the machine did not discriminate. It devoured everything in its path, obliterating flesh and bone alike, leaving behind only fragments too small to deny. One shred of flesh, however, slipped through the chaos. A single fragment, barely noticeable, held the key to unraveling the nightmare. It was a tiny piece, easily overlooked, yet it refused to disappear. Hidden in the tangled teeth of the machine, this fragment became the silent witness to a crime so brutal it defied comprehension. As dawn broke, the neighborhood awoke to the realization that something had gone terribly wrong. The house that once blended seamlessly into the suburban sprawl now stood out like a scar, its secrets locked behind walls that would soon be shattered by the relentless pursuit of truth. No one could have guessed that the machine, a symbol of everyday life, had been transformed into an instrument of horror. But that shred of flesh would not be silenced. It would speak in its own grim language, revealing the nightmare that had been fed into the machine's insatiable maw. The nightmare had begun, and the hunt for answers was just starting. The disappearance of the young woman sent shockwaves through the sleepy suburb of Connecticut in 1986. It was the kind of town where everyone knew each other's names, where front porches hosted friendly chats and children's laughter filled the air until dusk. The kind of place where crime seemed a distant concept, something that happened elsewhere. But that illusion was shattered now. Her name was Emily Harper, a 27-year-old school teacher, known for her warm smile and gentle nature. She had moved to the neighborhood only a year before, bringing with her a sense of hope and renewal that many admired. The town had welcomed her like one of their own, and no one suspected the darkness that would soon engulf her life. It started on a crisp October evening. Emily had left her job at the elementary school late, mentioning to colleagues she was eager to get home and prepare for the weekend. But home was where she vanished. She never arrived. Concern rippled quickly among friends and neighbors. Phone calls went unanswered. Her car was found abandoned near the river, doors locked, but no sign of Emily. The local police began their search, canvassing the neighborhood, questioning anyone who might have seen her. But answers were scarce, and the clock was ticking. Her husband, Mark Harper, a man who once seemed an unremarkable fixture in the community, became the center of quiet speculation. Mark was a construction supervisor, known for his steady demeanor and involvement in local projects. To outsiders, he appeared the picture of normalcy, a devoted husband and a hard-working man. Yet, as the investigation unfolded, cracks began to appear beneath his calm exterior. Neighbors recalled hearing raised voices from the Harper household in the days leading up to Emily's disappearance. Some spoke of Mark's mounting financial troubles, whispering about debts and strained relationships. Others mentioned fleeting glimpses of his secretive behavior, late-night phone calls, hurried trips, unexplained absences. Despite this, no one could fathom the depth of what lay beneath. The man who greeted smiles on the street, who nodded politely at the grocery store, harbored secrets that would soon unravel the very fabric of the community's trust. Emily's absence left a void that grew heavier with each passing day. The search expanded, involving state police and forensic experts. Every lead was chased, every clue scrutinized, but the trail seemed to disappear into shadow. The machine, the wood chipper, stood quietly in the driveway, a mute witness to the unfolding tragedy. At first glance, it was easy to dismiss, just another tool in the Harpers' modest yard. But as investigators would soon discover, it was anything but ordinary in this case. Behind Mark's placid mask lay a secret darker than anyone could imagine. The quiet man, grappling with mounting pressure and secrets, was about to become the focal point of a chilling investigation. The suburban calm was fractured, replaced by suspicion and fear. The town waited, breath held, as the pieces began to fall into place. The disappearance was not a random act, not a misfortune of chance. It was something far more sinister, a secret buried beneath layers of deception, waiting to be unearthed. In the days that followed, the community would confront a reality that no one wanted to face. The ordinary house on a quiet street, the kind neighbor, the familiar machine, all would become symbols of a nightmare that no one could ignore. And at the center of it all stood Mark Harper, the man whose secrets would soon come to light, forcing a community to reckon with the darkness hiding behind the suburban veneer. Clue number 1. Emily's car was found abandoned near the riverbank, its doors locked tight, but inside, a disturbing sight awaited investigators. The front seat was stained with dark, dried blood, an unmistakable sign that something violent had taken place. The presence of blood inside a locked car raised urgent questions. Was Emily injured in the vehicle? Had the perpetrator tried to transport her body? The blood whispered of a struggle, a desperate fight that had unfolded in the shadows. Clue number 2. Witnesses came forward with unsettling accounts of loud, mechanical noises echoing near the river late at night, just after Emily's disappearance. Several neighbors recalled the guttural roar of heavy machinery, a sound out of place in the serene suburb. It was the kind of noise that demanded attention, yet no one initially connected it to the unfolding mystery. The timing was chilling. The machine's grinding persisted through the darkness, masking whatever horrific acts took place under its relentless churning. Clue number 3. The most damning evidence emerged when investigators, combing the Harper property, discovered human tissue fragments and hair dangled within the blades of the wood chipper. Forensic teams meticulously collected these grisly remnants, confirming through analysis that they belonged to Emily. This physical evidence was irrefutable. A brutal act had been committed, and the wood chipper was not just a tool, but a weapon. The fragments told a harrowing story. The wood chipper, a device meant to shred branches and brush, had been turned into an instrument of destruction, obliterating any trace of the victim's body. Yet, in its violent consumption, it betrayed its user, leaving behind the very evidence intended to be erased. The blood in the car, the strange noises at night, and the remains in the machine converged into a grim narrative of calculated violence. Each clue deepened the mystery and tightened the noose around the truth. Investigators pieced together a timeline: Emily's last known movements, the abandoned car near the river, the mechanical roar in the dead of night, and finally, the discovery of her remains in the machine. The scene painted a portrait of horror that few could bear to imagine. The physical evidence was stark, but it also raised new questions. Who would use such a brutal method to conceal a crime? How could someone in a quiet suburb commit such an atrocity without raising alarm? The answers seemed to point closer every day to the place where the wood chipper sat, silent now, but forever marked by the violence it had witnessed. As the investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a web of secrets entwined with the clues. Financial problems, strained relationships, whispered arguments, all painted a picture of a life unraveling behind closed doors. The evidence was no longer just physical. It became a window into the fractured world of those involved. But the fragments in the machine were the most compelling. They spoke louder than any witness or rumor, demanding justice for a life violently ended. The wood chipper, once a mundane tool, had become the centerpiece of a nightmare, exposing a truth that one shred of flesh could not hide. The community held its breath as the case took shape, the clues guiding the way forward through darkness and doubt. Each piece of evidence brought them closer to the heart of the horror, revealing a story of betrayal, violence, and the desperate lengths someone would go to hide the truth. The investigation had reached a critical crossroads, and suspicion began to circle like a predator over its prey. 3 figures emerged from the shadows, each carrying motives dark enough to stain the quiet town. The question was simple: who had turned this suburban nightmare into reality? A. The resentful ex-boyfriend. Known for his volatile temper and history of violence, he had never fully accepted Emily's decision to move on. His jealousy was no secret to those close to Emily, and his presence near the neighborhood in the days before her disappearance had not gone unnoticed. His anger simmered beneath a fragile veneer, threatening to boil over into something deadly. B. Mark Harper, the husband. Financial troubles weighed heavily on him, and whispers of secret affairs added layers of complexity to his already strained life. His calm facade had begun to crack under the pressure of mounting debts and the unraveling of his marriage. To some, he seemed the most likely to harbor dark secrets, his seemingly ordinary life a mask for something far more sinister. C. The mysterious stranger, a figure seen lurking near Emily's home, never fully identified, whose intentions remained unclear. Their presence was a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit, a shadow that refused to dissipate. Who were they? And what role had they played in the tragedy that unfolded? The community grappled with these possibilities, each suspect casting a different shade of suspicion. The ex-boyfriend's violent past made him a natural focus, yet his alibi was shaky, but not impossible. The stranger's elusive presence raised questions that no one could answer, and Mark Harper's quiet demeanor and proximity to the crime scene made him both a man under scrutiny and a puzzle waiting to be solved. Investigators sifted through testimonies, alibis, and forensic evidence, weighing each suspect's potential involvement. The ex-boyfriend's history gave motive, but little physical evidence tied him to the scene. The stranger remained an enigma, disappearing like a ghost into the town's whispered rumors. Mark's financial woes and marital strains painted a picture of desperation, but was desperation enough to commit such a brutal act? The tension mounted as questions piled upon questions. Neighbors recalled moments of tension, fleeting arguments, and unexplained behavior that now took on new meaning. The community watched nervously as the investigation closed in, waiting for the moment when the truth would finally emerge. It was a pause, a moment to consider, to guess, to piece together the fragments of a puzzle that refused to be simple. Who among them had the darkest secret? Who could have turned a suburban home into a scene of horror? Now, the choice rested with those who followed the story. Could they see beyond the surface, beyond the alibis and rumors, to the heart of the crime? The answers were hidden in plain sight, waiting for the sharp eye to catch them. The suspects stood before the scale of justice, each bearing the weight of suspicion. The clock ticked down, and the shadows grew longer. Whose story would hold up under the relentless light of truth? Who do you think is behind the nightmare? The truth, chilling and undeniable, finally emerged from the shadows. Mark Harper, the husband, was the architect of this nightmare. Despite his outward calm and carefully constructed facade, the forensic evidence told a different story. One that could not be ignored or denied. The fragments of Emily's body, painstakingly recovered from the wood chipper's teeth, became the centerpiece of the prosecution's case. Forensic scientists meticulously matched tissue samples, hair, and even dental fragments to Emily, proving beyond doubt that the remains had been fed into the machine. The technical brilliance of forensic analysis left no room for ambiguity. The machine, once a garden tool, was transformed into a weapon of horror, and Mark Harper was the man who wielded it. Financial pressures had driven Mark to desperation. Investigators uncovered a web of debts and secret affairs that painted a picture of a man crumbling beneath the weight of his own lies. The veneer of suburban normalcy cracked, revealing a psyche pushed to the brink, a man who chose to silence his wife rather than confront the truth of his failing life. The court proceedings revealed the stark reality. Witnesses recounted the late-night noises by the river, the bloodied car abandoned without explanation, and Mark's increasingly erratic behavior. His alibi unraveled under scrutiny, and the forensic findings sealed his fate. Despite the horror of the crime, the conviction was a testament to the power of science and perseverance. The scattered remains, the mechanical roar in the night, the bloodstains in the car, all pieces of a grim puzzle that, when assembled, pointed directly to Mark Harper. The community grappled with the betrayal, the realization that the horror had been perpetrated by one of their own. The quiet man next door was not a victim of circumstance, but the author of a terrifying choice. The wood chipper, once an innocuous tool, would forever be entwined with the darkest chapter in the town's history. Could you have pieced together this horror from scattered remains? Could you see through the calm exterior to the violent truth beneath? The story challenges you to consider how even the smallest fragment, one shred of flesh, can unravel a nightmare, exposing secrets that no machine can silence. Share your thoughts. Would you have seen it coming?